Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Pastor Ricky. Welcome to City Church. I am here with some phenomenal people. To my far left is Pastor Dickey. That's Pastor Dickey, not Ricky. I know you can get confused. But this is our Mayor Walker Reed. We have two wonderful youth, Kendall Massey, Garvin Collins, and then of course we have Chief Helton here from Gastonia Police Department. Guys, thank you so much. And we are here to continue the conversation. Dr. King's last book was Where Do We Go From Here? Going from chaos to community. And that's what we want to talk about. And I kind of want to start this conversation with Kendall. Kendall is a graduating senior from Ashbrook High School, and he works at Bilo. And recently he had a post on Facebook about some interactions between some customers that made him feel, kind of a certain way. Kendall, tell us a little bit about that Facebook post.
So I went into work like a normal day. I was a cashier, and I had some individuals come up to me and make some remarks that kind of caught me off guard, got me a little overwhelmed. One man, he came up to my line, and after the transaction, he said, "Well, how you doing today?" I said, "I'm doing good." And he kind of started laughing, and that caught me off guard. And then he asked me, he said, well, he informed me, he said, "I bought some ammunition for your kind." And I kind of looked, and it took me off guard. Then the customers behind him kind of looked. And one of the ladies turned and she pushed her buggy up because we have these 6 feet markers and just kind of pushed him out the way. Then I had another lady come ask me. She said, "Why are you working today, sweetheart?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to college in a couple months. I need money." And kind of laughed. And she said, "You aren't marching with your brothers today?" And I said, I just kind of rolled my eyes at that one. And then right before I went on my break, about 20 minutes before I went on my break, I went to go bag for another cashier. And I went to go bag, and the lady I was going to bag her groceries for told me to stop. And she kind of started laughing and said, "I don't want that gasoline on my groceries." And that one I didn't quite understand until she said, "All the protesting and rioting going on. I know you're probably out there helping the people." And I'm like, just because I'm black and African American doesn't mean I'm out there doing what you see in the media. I'm working every single day. Matter of fact, I was here last night closing right before I woke up to be here at 6 o'clock the next morning. So that was a little bit where the post generated. And then, like I said in the post, I got overwhelmed by all the people in the store. We were a little bit understaffed, and it was a lot going on that day that resulted to the post I made on my break.
Well, that post got the attention of our mayor and some community leaders. And what I'd like to ask you, Kendall, is the same question that Dr. King had. Where do we go from here? As a teen, what do you think you want to see from us as leaders in the community from a teenage perspective? What's next?
So I feel like a lot of our, not problems and issues, but a lot of this generates from generational racism. That's something that's passed down through the generations. I've talked with several different people throughout this situation, and they've never had an interaction like mine. But they're mad, they're angry, they're ready to go out and riot. They're ready to go out and fight. Not particularly protest peacefully. They're ready to disrupt our community and the city that we've built. And my question to them is why? Just because they have an African-American dad who has maybe been stopped by the police. I feel like where we need to come from as a community is we need to start young. I was talking to some individuals the other day trying to figure out what can we do as teens. We need to get out and see that we're unified. Ashbrook is one of the most diverse high schools in the county, and that's a family. You mess with one football player, you don't mess with just that football player. You mess with the JV, the varsity, the ninth graders that's not even there. You mess with the whole family. We see color, we know color, but we're united together. I feel like we need to start educating and informing our youth at a young age to stop the generational racism at an older level that's being passed down through generations. I know I've had several talks with my grandmother, his grandmother, and they've talked about what they went through. They're not mad. They're not angry. They're not ready to go out here. Now, they technically can't because of their age and stuff, but they're not going out here messing up things that we have built that employs African-American individuals. And then I just get kind of confused because I'm like, if you want change, why go about it that way? Why go about it the wrong way? Our teens are the next future leaders of America. We're the next mayors. We're the next police chiefs. We're the next police officers, lawyers, and doctors. We're the next people that's going to be taking care of everybody. Right. So why not inform and educate while we're young?
Awesome. And Garvin, you actually had an opportunity on your job to educate one of your employees. Tell us a little bit about that situation and how you were able to kind of educate that particular employee.
I did. So one thing I'm an active believer in, that it takes a village, that it takes these conversations that we're having right now in order to make change happen. So, like you were saying, I was at work. I was just a couple minutes from clocking out, and one of my coworkers, he's a 20-year-old gentleman, so not incredibly older, but closer to my age, and he just came to me and he said, "You know what? I have no problems taking to social media about the protests and the riots if anybody in Harris Teeter were to get involved." And I was the only African American, that was there at the time. So I was, I could just kind of wanted to hear what he was talking about and all that good stuff. So the more he started talking, about his views on what he thought the protests were and what the riots were and what everything was meaning. And I wanted to sit and I wanted to hear his perspective. And from his perspective, it really just seemed like pointless violence. He asked, why is all this happening over one isolated instance? He's talking about the young man in Minnesota. And I took that moment to tell him that all of this, as he put it, isn't just from one isolated instance. It's from years upon years, countless of African Americans that have lost their lives, in a handful of situations. So I think, like you said, in order to make change, that the biggest thing we can do is to continue to have these conversations that we're having. Right. So using our platforms, whether it be our job platforms like we're doing here, to have these conversations, whether it be to take to social media and just talk and have civilized conversations about things that people may not understand. Because I can't speak for all teenagers. I'm sure you said you can't speak for all police officers. You can't speak for all mayors. You can't speak for all pastors. But what we can do is we can give our experiences and talk about it and hope that our perspective can be seen by someone who has a different perspective than us. And hopefully we can learn a new perspective from them as well.
Awesome. Mayor, you got two wonderful young men beside you, man. Where do we go from here so we can make this world better for them?
I think we need to start with, as they have mentioned, coming in together and having the hard conversations.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize why we're at the state we're in, and I think it's because we have been afraid to talk about it.
Right.
We've been afraid to come together, and we've been afraid to basically accept the truth.
Right.
There are some bad things that's going on both sides of the fence. But I think coming together and talking about our differences will make the difference.
Right.
To see these young men speaking in the way they're speaking gives me hope that everybody's not missing the train.
Right.
I agree that I think racism and being prejudiced is a taught and learned behavior. One of my best experiences is to go to a daycare, a pre-K, and watch kids intermingle.
Right.
They play together, they laugh together, they share toys, they share their food, because they don't know any different.
Right.
And I mean all ethnicities in that classroom.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's taught from the home,
Right.
when it's taught from individuals, older individuals,
Right.
that entails the problem.
Right.
So we're going to have to start working with our youth, I mean even younger than these guys, and in making them inclusive in what's going on in our city, and to let them know about our bad experiences and where we perceive going in the future.
Absolutely. Well, Chief, I know that right now there's a lot of unrest as it relates to relationships between community and police officers. But I know for a fact that you guys are doing some things in the community to try to combat that. We have a group that meets, GC3. Now, forgive me because I don't know what the three C's are. Right. I know it's like clergy, community. I don't really know what it is, but I know that we have some programs that are going on. Tell us some things that the police department is doing to try to help relationships in the community that some of our citizens may not know about.
You know, we do a lot of work throughout the year in the community and working with different groups. GC3 is one where we work with area clergy and work through and have some of those tough conversations the mayor was referring to. about how do we move forward and how do we work together as a community and what are some of the concerns and the anxieties and the fears and why do the police do this or why does the community do this? And we work through some of those. But we also do a lot of things throughout the year to work with the community. We do a Friday Night Lights. Sergeant Adrian Hall and some officers go down to the Irwin Center every Friday night and work with some of our area youth and interact with them to where they get to know us beyond just our uniform, beyond just riding around in the car, and get to know us as a person. We do kids camps. We do ride-alongs. We do citizens academies. Pastor Spargo, I know you and Ricky are really familiar with our Shop with a Cop, where we take 50 children from the Boys and Girls Club shopping. This church has been a big, big support the last couple of years for that. Really has helped make it happen. But these are all opportunities for folks to get to know us, for us to get to know the community, and it's a chance for us to reach our hand out and say, this is who we are. And we're here to help. And we want folks to know that we're here to serve all parts of the community. Not just the north, the south, the east, the west, not just the black, the white, but all parts of the community. And we're here for everyone. And we're here to serve in that capacity. So, I think it's important for people to know us for more than just sitting here in a uniform. And I was speaking with these young men here, and by the way, don't leave without me giving you a business card, because we are hiring, right? Hey, what impressive young men these are, and the comments you just made. And I really am impressed by what you just said. So thank you for that. But you need to know me more than just somebody sitting here with a uniform on. You need to know, hey, I'm also a dad. I've got a son that's 6'8", that's an athlete. I got another one that loves to do robotics and drafting. You need to know me beyond that. I'm a person too, and I live here in the city. I went to Ashbrook. Go Greenies, right? So, but I think that's important for you to know me and for me to know you and us to have that relationship.
Absolutely. Well, Pastor Dickey, I am just blessed to be a part of a church that's initiating some conversation, and that really goes to your leadership and what you're doing, and you're willing to have the uncomfortable conversations. For those members, and it's really been interesting, I've been in a position where a lot of people are coming to me and asking, where can I start? What can I do? What would you tell some people? Where can we start? What would you tell some other pastor friends of ours where they can start and how they can begin to have the conversations?
Well, Pastor Ricky, let me start off by saying I want to adopt these two young men right here. At least I want their social security number and claim these brothers on my taxes. But, one of the things that's very difficult to talk about is something that you've never experienced. I've never been a brown man. I've never been a black man. And so the only way for me to be able to understand what my friend Walker Reed goes through is for me to listen, right? Yes. And to learn and to ask questions. And Pastor Ricky, you and I have had many conversations about that. And what I find is sometimes we don't often want to look in the mirror and realize the only thing in the city of Gastonia that I can change, Mayor, is me, right?
Exactly right, brother.
And so I got to work on me. That's why one of the things I was sharing earlier that I read Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here? I would encourage everyone to have conversations with people that don't look like you. Right. And that's going to be the key for us going forward is us getting together and talking in a civil way, not the way we see it on television and YouTube, but understanding each other. I believe that what God likes to do is He likes to take crisis and bring community out of it. I believe that what we're seeing right now is going to end up in something that's going to be very beautiful. And our hope, Pastor Ricky, is these two gentlemen sitting right here in the middle of the kind of world that we want you guys to live in, where, as Dr. King says, that we don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. That's where we've got to get. And as a Caucasian pastor, we've got to talk about it. I know it's uncomfortable sometimes to sit in church or even in a group setting and talk about it, but the more you do it, the more you feel comfortable with it. So, Pastor Ricky, we're going to continue to have these kind of conversations and work to be that community that God wants us to be.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I thank you all so much for being here. I think this is the start of the continuation of the conversation. I think we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I don't know about you, Mayor, but I don't know. This time seems different. This time seems like it might be the start. This time just seems like, I mean, it's not just America, but we've got the UK and we've got Australia, we've got Africa. Like, I don't know. This time just seems different.
Pastor Ricky, I totally agree. And I've said that. I've been saying that for the past week. I've never seen in my lifetime a protest that evolved to what we're seeing now.
Right.
I think people are finally getting the message.
Yeah.
You know, they've been in denial for a long time. This is not going on. But when you actually see it happen, transpire before your eyes, and you see the aftermath of what is taking place, I think now it's registering, okay, we have a problem.
Right.
But generally in the protest, if it's an African-American that's killed by a white police officer, it's mostly African-Americans protesting.
Right.
What I'm seeing now, that's not the case.
No.
And as you mentioned, it's happening throughout globally.
Right.
So that opened my eyes, number one. But when I see the different, not only races, but ages
Right.
Involved, this is the first time I've seen our youth in masses protesting and coming out and forming different groups to keep this thing alive. I don't think this is going to be the 1 or 2 week thing of anger and frustration and go away. I think we're going to see this happening on a continuous basis, and it's needed.
Absolutely, and I totally agree. I've been contacted by different groups, both teenagers, women.
Yes.
It's really transcended all ages, all demographics, both socioeconomics. People are finally getting it, and I'm encouraged by that. I hate the fact that it took a crisis. But you're absolutely right, Pastor Dickey. I think God takes a crisis and creates community out of it. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys will be encouraged to be comfortable being uncomfortable so that we can consistently make this community a better place. God bless you. We love you, and we'll see you soon.